So the next test in the VNG test battery is the smooth pursuit test. This test requires the patient to follow a target which is moving back and forth on the screen. So again, we don't need the cover for this test. So Tess, what's going to happen during the test is that the target this time is going to move backwards and forwards on the screen. What I'd like you to do is to keep your head still and follow the target with your eyes.
Yes.
What's going to happen as the test goes on is that that target's going to increase in its speed. I want you to follow that target as closely as you possibly can. Try not to jump ahead of the target, but to follow it as smoothly as possible. And then the test will last for around about 50 seconds.
Okay.
Do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
No? Fantastic. Okay, let's start the test. So if you can have a look at the dot in the center of the screen, here we go.
Counting down from 49.
So we can see that the target is now moving in a smooth fashion. Sometimes this is called the tracking test because we're looking at how well the eyes can track that target. So you're doing a great job there, Test. If you can just keep your eyes following that target as smoothly as possible.
30.
And what's going to happen is that that's going to speed up as the test continues.
20.
Here we can see the target speeding up. And in the software, what we can see is a yellow line representing the target and the blue and red
10.
lines representing the left and the right eye. On the far side of the screen, we can see that the results are populating in real time
0.
so that we can start to analyze the test even whilst we're actually in the performance of the test or whilst Tess is still performing the test. Once the test is complete, what we get is a result screen, and what we're interested in looking at here is primarily the gain, so how well the eye is tracking the target, and then also the symmetry to see if there's any differences between the right movements of the target and the left movements of the target. So this is an example of an abnormal smooth pursuit test. What's interesting in this test is that we can see that the gains in the right eye are different from the gains in the left eye. We can see that the gains in the right eye are within the normal range, however the gains in the left eye are reduced. This is an example of a patient which has dysconjugate eye movements and was later diagnosed with a central condition. That concludes the smooth pursuit test, and now we're ready to move on to the next test in the VNG protocol.